So this is a red mesh pin that I made about 4 or 5 years ago, and I put out on YouTube. It was the very first video I put on YouTube, and I didn't have any microphone or any way to record my voice on there other than the camera itself, and it's terrible for that, especially with something in the background going like making noise for this pin and dust collectors and anything else. So I put it out. I originally did this with YouTube Studio, which is an okay program for beginning, I guess. I didn't have a good software for editing back then, so right now I'm using I used a rougher to get it down to round, and right now I'm using a skew chisel to get it down to the size I want it to. Getting it all kind of like basically flat for a pin. It's a pin, obviously, so you want to be able to hang on to it. You don't want some big square boxy thing. So at this point, I'm using the skew chisel to get it down to size. And once I get it down to size with the skew chisel, I will start sanding it, which will happen here in a second. Yeah, it's got a little bit more to go on the back part of the pin, the upper part. So the left part of it is the point or the tip of the pin. These bushings are what you're taking it down to. The size of the bushings determines how the pin is. So you determine how you're going to make your pin. Everything has to fall down to the size of the bushings at the end, pulling off all the dust, getting the sandpaper out. And this is starting off with 100 grit, then 150, then 250, I think it is, then 400, and then 600. And I'm just doing dry sanding here, but I'm going to decide to do a little bit of wet sanding with some of them to get it a little bit more smooth. It'll help because it like softens the sandpaper and I guess kind of makes it a little bit better. And then after I'm done with the standard grits, I will wipe it down, and then I will get out the micro mesh, which is right here. This is its own special grit system. It starts out at like 1500 and goes up to 12,000 grit. It's called micro mesh. You usually do them wet because otherwise they tend to burn or stick to whatever you're doing it. So you want to keep them wet. At least you can do them dry, but you got to be a lot more careful. I've noticed that I've ruined my pads before by using them dry, so I try to use them wet. So get them off there, and we're assembling the pin now. It's a click pin, so there's a bunch of little parts I have to push together, and then I have to push the whole pin together, and then put the refill in the end of it, and then we have a completed pin. So we just got a few more parts pieces here to put together. After we get all these little pieces put in, we will put the two halves of the pin together, and we will put the refill in it, push the cap on the end, and we have a finished pin.